Calling to order the May 5th, 2026 meeting of the Beacon City School District Board of Education. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vicki, can you call the roll?
Here.
Delayed?
Mr. Lewine?
Here.
Ms. McNair?
Here.
Mr. Shutter?
Here.
Ms. Huber?
Here.
Ms. Statler?
Here. Matt, can you review the fire exits?
Yes, exits are in the back of the LGI.
Thank you. Open to the public. Does anyone have a public comment they would like to make? Seeing none, we will move on to the workshop and budget hearing portion. Can I get a motion to open the budget hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Meredith. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Matt and Anne Marie?
Okay. All right. For the budget hearing tonight, we wanted to take a few minutes and just review all of the basics of the budget. There's nothing new. There's no surprises tonight for the board, but we want to review everything and open up for questions at any point. It doesn't have to wait till the end. And so I've been saying this for several years now. One of my first superintendents when I was a principal always talked about the district budget represents what we value. And so tonight we're going to be talking about a budget that I feel really shows our value of programming for students, expanded opportunities for students, supporting our staff through a variety of means, and continuing to grow as a district. And so we're excited to talk about it tonight. I love this slide. It's super busy. I'm not going to talk about each bullet point, but some of these things have been in place for decades. A lot are on the newer side, but it's things that are we have highlighted at each of our school levels and that we're really proud of and excited about. So just initiatives over the last few years. Again, I won't speak in depth about all of these, and they're kind of in order, but it's hard to exactly order some of this, but we've done a lot to improve elementary staffing with both specials, elementary class sizes, and then also academic support teachers in both reading and math. We fostered new community partnerships. There's been some in place for decades. We've had some new ones. We've increased mental health supports at all levels by adding a psychologist at the elementary level, a guidance counselor, at round about 2 social workers at the high school over the last few years. We did the 9-period day at the high school 4 years ago. Huge expansion of extracurriculars and added an assistant director at PPS, and also increased special education staffing with our ICT classes at the elementary level as well. I've said this a lot too, so forgive me for repeating myself tonight, but one thing that I try to do is kind of grow slowly, but grow in a way that we aren't always having to pull back, and that we expanded too quickly, and it was something that was unsustainable for us. So I tried to do the opposite of that. And so today we were having a great meeting about the 9-period day at Roundabout, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And my son is graduating Roundabout, this year, and I was like, oh man, it would have been cool that if he had this class or that class. That's not what it's about. It's about steady improvement every year, and we're excited that we're in a place to be able to do that this year at Roundabout. All right, so I'm gonna, and we have some slides.
So
The board has seen this information, but I just wanted to go over it quickly again. We will make this presentation available on the website for other people, for everyone else to look at. So this is the tax cap calculation. Our tax levy increase of 4.4% is at the tax cap. And a couple of things that go into the tax cap calculation are the tax-based growth factor, the allowable growth factor, and the capital exclusion. Tax-based growth factor is determined by the state for us. Allowable growth factor is the consumer price index, or 2%, whichever is less. So the consumer price index is more, so we're at 2%. And the capital exclusion, we are able to add back expenditures resulting from capital projects, principal and interest. We've had a lot of conversations about that. The important thing on this slide is to know that tax-based growth factor and allowable growth factor we have no control over. We are given those numbers. The capital exclusion is a number that we calculate, but it is a direct representation of voter approval for capital projects that we had done. This one last year and this year had an impact from the 2024 capital project that had a tax impact. So we talked about that a little, and I have a little more information on a different slide. So our budget for this year is $91,850,000. It's a budget-to-budget increase of 4.71%. When I was doing this slide, I updated this slide for this year. The state budget hadn't been passed last year either, so I found that fascinating because I kind of lost track of that. But the state budget hasn't been passed, so we are using estimates for state aid. There hasn't been a lot of conversation about it, so I'm hopeful that it is what they presented it to be. But I know that, being a business official in a school district, we're all nervous. We'd rather have the exact amount, but we did the best we can with what we could estimate. This is on the revenue side. This is how we pay for the $91,850,000 budget through local property taxes, state aid, some interest earnings. Again, we budgeted conservatively. The interest rate, not knowing what it's going to be, it has dipped down a little bit, but we're still hopeful of generating some revenue that way. So, the other pilots, we do use a use of reserves and fund balance, and some miscellaneous revenue items, E-rate reimbursements that we get. We're using some money that was sitting in a reserve for workers' comp. So all of those things go into the miscellaneous. And the pie chart kind of shows how it all breaks out. And this is more of a pie chart just to give you a visual of what the proposed budget looks like. Salary and benefits are 75% of the budget, which a school district is a people business, so that's kind of understandable. Debt service is 7.5%, and the miscellaneous piece, all the other departments would be, 17.3. So not a lot of wiggle room or flexibility in the budget. This is the budget in the three-part budget expenditures, which we are required to present to you. So the administrative, the instructional, and the capital. Administrative area talks about basically what it is. It's not just administrative. It's all of the central office staff. It's all the things that don't relate directly to the children in the classroom. So the principals in the building, central office, business office, all of the support departments. Instructional is really what it says. It's anything that affects a child. So it's teachers, school psychologists, social workers, technology, all of the things that directly affect them. Capital is the debt service piece. It's also facilities piece that's in the capital area. So it kind of gives you a comparison from last year to this year. I'm going to just go through these slides real quickly because we had talked about them before. I think they'd be helpful if they're on the website so people can kind of do a deep dive into the areas. So this shows a comparison of the Board of Ed, the Superintendent's Office, the Business Office, Audit and School Attorneys from year to year. This is the facilities and the printing costs from the current year, this year budget to the proposed for 26-27. Insurance and BOCES administrative costs. So the BOCES was here at the BOCES meeting. They talked about their administrative costs in their presentation, so that's where that sits on our budget. The Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, the building level administrators, and their staff and professional development. And all of these things would be in that administrative bucket that we had just talked about. This is a chart showing elementary, secondary teacher support staff and material and supplies, so building level expenditures. This slide talks about the special education area, the teachers and support staff, the tuition for out-of-district students. This slide shows the school psychologists, social workers, guidance, other related services, nurses, the extracurricular and recreational, so that would be the sports and the clubs and recreational area. This is the bus garage, the district pupil transportation area. This is our district benefits, so employee retirement, teachers retirement, Social Security, a comparison from our current year's budget to next year. And our debt service, how much our debt service has increased from this year to next year. So our total budget, again, our budget to budget is 4.71%. The chart on the left shows a little bit more detail on the tax cap calculation to get to 4.47%. Again, you'll see the tax-based growth factor that we talked about. You'll see the allowable growth factor that we spoke of and what the capital exclusion is dollar-wise and how we get to the tax cap. The potential tax impact of this budget is on the right, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on another slide to give you a couple of more comparisons. So we always get the question, will my school taxes go up next year? So understanding the levy, when we talk about the levy, we talk about the total amount that the district can propose and collect in taxes. It does not mean that your individual taxes will rise by the amount of the levy. The levy is spread over all of the homestead and non-homestead, so households and businesses across the Beacon City School District. We have been extremely lucky in a way for our taxes that we've had new properties added to the tax roll. And so we will show on a different slide how our tax rate per thousand has progressively decreased over the last 10 years. And that's a result of adding more properties in the community to spread the same tax levy over. So we always get a question about, well, aren't you getting more taxes because you have more properties? You don't. The tax cap is the tax cap. You just get a finite amount of money, and it's spread over more people, which makes the tax rate per thousand decrease. And I'll show a visual on that as well. As part of the hearing, we must talk about the contingency budget. It's never a pleasant conversation. Basically, the contingency budget means if the budget were to fail on May 19th, and the board can put the budget vote back up in June, making some changes. If for some reason that were to go down to, you had to go to a contingency budget. So the contingency budget, the driving factor of that is that the tax levy cannot increase. So whatever the tax levy was for 25-26, it must be for 26-27. So that means cutting at least $2.4 million from what we're proposing in the budget. So it would be very significant if we had to make those changes. There are certain things under the law that have to be cut, so that it couldn't be equipment purchases. There's a laundry list of things. Hopefully that does not happen, but that would be a conversation that we would need to have with the board and come up with some recommendations if that were the case. So this bar chart just basically shows where Beacon is in the county. So we're kind of in the middle, but on the lower end of the middle. And it kind of shows, how we compare to our neighbors of their tax rate per thousand. This was 25-26 information, historic, so because they're all doing their budgets now for this year. This visual shows assessment increases. This is just for Beacon. So our assessment increases are decreasing, but are still higher than most in the county. So I did a couple of slides on your estimated tax increases. What's hard about this is I use current assessments because I don't have the ones that will be available when we do the tax, the tax bills in September. They don't come out till the summer. So I use what we used last year. I used the STAR exemption from last year because that isn't available either. So I always look at it this way, like this is worst case scenario, because we have seen our assessments increase. So this would hopefully be less than what we're saying. So we like to say that this is the worst case scenario about taxes. So we did a calculation of what the median is in Beacon, a value of a house at $450 and $500, and what the yearly increase would be, and it ranges from $198 for the year to $239. So it runs from $1,650 a month to almost $20 a month in the city of Beacon. For Fishkill, our median home value is a little different. It's $444,500, and we did the two other amounts as well, just to see where people can kind of see where their house fits. And again, the yearly increase ranges from $211 to $239, and $1,750 to $1,992, or around $20 per month. And in Wappingers, the median home value is a little bit less, but again, we did the two other comparisons. So all three of the municipalities are running around the same. It's not like one is paying a lot more than the other. It's kind of even across the board. And we updated this slide. The median home value, I did use the $450,000. I thought that was a little bit more equitable across the other districts. But what this calculation shows is what a median home value in Beacon would be and what the school tax estimate is. And then if you were to move to our neighbors in Wappinger, Spackenkill, Arlington, and Hyde Park, what a $450,000 home and what their taxes will be. And you will see that they're a lot higher than what Beacon is. So that we're very proud of that. We give, a lot of programs and a lot of things in Beacon, but we really do try to keep the tax rate per thousand on the low side. Did you want to do this one? You want me?
Yeah.
Okay.
The buses next, right?
Okay. So this is the information that will be on the ballot. So obviously there will be a proposition to vote for the budget. We will include a bus proposition this year, and we will talk about the people running for the open seats of the board. So the bus proposition. We did not do a bus proposition last year. The buses that we had voted on the year before were delayed, so we felt that we didn't need to do it last year. We did receive our buses all this year, including our 2 EV buses. But we are in dire need of wheelchair vans. Our wheelchair vans are old. One of them actually is just out of commission, so we had to think outside the box until July, until we have the bus proposition. But we are in need of 2 small school vans, 1 large passenger bus, and 2 wheelchair vans. They will be gas or diesel. To do any more EV buses would be another conversation. We're in the process of doing a fleet assessment with NYSERDA, which is required by the state, and to see what kind of infrastructure and what things Central Hudson would need to do to bring electric into our bus garage. So that's a process that we'll be talking about over the next year about how to move forward. And some other things in the budget that we included was a wheel alignment machine. Our great mechanics can do a lot of the work in-house. They don't have the machine to do it. We're sending it out to a dealer. We're paying top dollar to a dealer. So the head auto mechanic showed me how he could save money going forward. So I think it's a really great investment. And we are planning to upgrade our routing software. We use TransFinder to enhance communication, and mainly with the parents. We tried another program last year as a pilot. We didn't pay for it. It didn't work. So we decided not to invest any money into it. TransFinder is a routing program that we've used for years. So we're much more hopeful to try to communicate with parents a little bit more. And these are open seats of the board. Eric Shetter, Jermaine Wright, and Caitlin Secor, in that order, will be appearing on the ballot. Part of the governor's budget is an increase in the universal pre-K funding, which we're extremely excited about. So it would be nice to kind of know how it rolled out. I kind of reached out to them, and they were like, well, we don't really know yet until the budget passes. But from everything that we're reading, they're very hopeful. There has been no discussion between the governor and the House and the Assembly and the Senate that they were going to do anything differently with pre-K. So we had our pre-K numbers for next year are a little bit less than the current year. We're starting to see it's more about like birth rates. So we're seeing one year be really high, one be a little bit less. So right now, we haven't told the parents, but maybe I'll say it here that we can accommodate everyone that's registered. So we're really happy about that. And then in 2028-29, if the governor passes the budget the way she says, we must provide full day pre-K. So we feel like we're ahead of the game. We've been offering a full day pre-K program. We're really excited about it. Our students really get to participate in all aspects of school. I know some other districts either don't have it or have half day. So, you know, we feel like we're in a really good position going forward, and the money really does help us with all aspects of the general fund.
So this isn't a full-blown presentation about this, but the main new feature of our budget is the proposed 9-period day at Roundabout. In 6th grade, what we'll be adding is a health class for all students, and that's an every other day class, and then a class that's focused on study skills and social emotional development, and that will be every other day as well. In 7th grade, we're adding a band of electives. Teachers have been developing proposals for those electives the last couple of months to prepare for this. Electives, there'll be electives in drama, media, history, to name a few. We're really excited about that. 8th grade, we'll be adding a technology class that will be hands-on and less digital. We met about that today, and the current proposal is that it's a class that partly focuses on woodworking, like kind of introduces students to the different trades. Also gets into plumbing a little bit, also gets into electrical work, and then gets into some design. And that would be a class that 8th grade is tricky because there's so many different offerings in 8th grade. So it's hard for me to say every student will be in that class, but it should be available to many or most. We're also adding several art classes for 8th graders during the day. Again, not all 8th graders will be able to take them based on the choices they make with other classes. And overall, so along with all these offerings that are really exciting, it also helps students get academic intervention services, better access to those than they're currently getting. So our planning is really moving along with this. Like I said, we had a great meeting about it today. And once the budget passes, we'll start the hiring process. If the budget passes, we'll start the hiring process for these positions. But I'm really excited. Every time I have a meeting with teachers, administrators, both about this, I get really excited. Once we solidify a little bit more post-election, if we're able to do this, we'll start putting more information out to parents about what it will look like next year. Students will have some choices to make depending on the grade. So we'll be putting that out. Some smaller scale initiatives that we're doing. We've had some CLC readiness projects presented to us this year. So we're going to be funding a new garden at Beacon High School, also get the outdoor classroom going. We're still trying to lock in between 2 companies right now with the app. That will be a news feed and offer some other features, but we'll have that in place next year. Chloe presented to us about the mentoring program. We're going to be funding both the stipend for an advisor for that, but also some of the materials needed. And then we're going to be participating in the BOCES coaster that pays for tuition for all students for the DCC classes. That will end up getting some aid back on, some BOCES aid. It will actually help also, the BOCES aid will help pay for the teachers who teach those courses. It will pay for parts of their salary. So we do have to outlay money. We're expecting it to be about $30,000, but then the following year we'll start be getting aid back. It seemed like a no-brainer. Some districts piloted it this year in Dutchess, and a bunch more are jumping in. I've had a few parents reach out to me this year about the cost of the tuition for these classes and needing help. And So we'll be sharing that. The high school will be sharing that information. And then just, looking to the future, like I've said many, many times, we do make hard choices and hard recommendations. It's like, I wish I could have it all, every budget, but we kind of try to methodically go through. So things we're looking at and we're going to be engaged in the board with next year. Not that we can get all of these done in 1 year either, but just looking at a college and career counselor, just specifically focused on that at Beacon High School, more academic intervention specialists, instructional coaching, behavior specialists, more mental health supports. The needs are always there. We're also going to be looking at ways to be more efficient, looking at all positions. Do we need to keep all moving forward? Those will be things we'll update the board as we go. For sure. So here we are. We've been going down that timeline, and we're down to almost the last button there. We're in the budget hearing. So a couple things happening between now and the budget vote. Anne Marie and I have 2 more budget info sessions. We have one on Thursday, and we have one on Zoom a week from today. And we record the Zoom one, and I've had several people reach out to me because the Zoom one was tight. It was like 24 minutes. And I had various people say that was the thing they watched, and it helped them understand aspects of the budget. So the second Zoom one we're going to do next week, we're going to try to get more into some Q&A style things, like typical questions people have. And we'll keep that kind of on the shorter side so the recording is manageable for people. So we'll be doing that in terms of getting the word out. We'll be doing some social media stuff. Obviously, we don't tell people how to vote, but reminding people about the vote. We have 6 concerts between now and the budget vote. And so either the principal introducing the concert or me will just do a quick reminder of how much, since they're all here, they're all at the concert to listen, how much our music program has expanded over the last 9 years. And obviously that's due to our amazing students and staff, but the budget helps support that as well. And so we'll be doing those reminders. The high school concert is on the night of the budget vote. So we'll do some reminding at that one, just again, for people to vote. We don't want people to be complacent. And sometimes when it's not a contested or competitive board race, like you worry about, will people come out? So we'll just be reminding people to exercise their right to vote and to try to answer as many questions that come forward. I've also just been encouraging people to just email me, and a lot of people have taken me up on that, so I've been trying to answer those questions as well. So we're excited, and we're really excited if the budget succeeds. We're really excited to finalize the roundabout planning, share that with the board and the community and the students and parents. We won't get it. I'm going to talk about the capital project later. So just to recap from our end, we feel like we've really been engaged with the budget this year with you all. I think we've had really good conversations about it from my vantage point, a lot of good questions. We feel like we're proposing something to now the public that is sustainable, moves the district forward, and keeps our tax rate on the lower end in Dutchess County, which I think is something that should, I spend time reminding people of that too. And when you have that list of all those districts, the ones that are in the more column are our competitors in a lot of areas, whether it's hiring, whether it's programming we're offering students, academic competitions or athletic competitions. So we're doing our best to keep up, and we think this budget within the tax cap best supports that. So we're really excited to get the word out. If there's things you want us to know about in terms of things you're hearing, please just let me know, and we'll try to address those. And so that's our side of this. I know we don't have members of the public here tonight, but like I said, we'll be doing other things that members of the public can come to. We haven't had a huge turnout, but we have had people come either in person or online to ask questions or just to hear us out. So we'll keep doing that. And sometimes that setting is maybe more comfortable for folks. So we'll keep doing that. But what questions do you all have, or are you tired of talking about the budget at this point? Or
Any questions?
I know we're not saying anything new tonight.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm just wondering exactly what the budget vote is.
The
Could elaborate?
oh gosh, I don't know if I could go through all your slides, Anne Marie, without. It's essentially we're putting out when Anne Marie said the budget number was, remind me again, it was
91 million.
when we're asking the public to basically either vote yes or no on whether they support this budget we're putting forward for $91 million with the tax implications that we've explained with, like, this is how much it will impact your taxes. So the voters are voting yes or no on that. They're voting yes or no on the bus proposition that Anne Marie talked about. That's something that we take out essentially loans for. So we need public approval to do that. And then the public is voting for the open seats on the board, which are 3, which we have 3 people running. So it's not competitive per se, but they will vote for that as well. And so it's basically a yes or no. It's very,
So,
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, as you know. You've been in all these meetings, but it's just yes or no on the $91 million budget.
and what are the results of the yes and the no?
What's that?
Like if there's a majority no, then what?
If there's a majority no, we have a couple options. One is we'd obviously have a few board meetings to discuss it. If it's no, we have the opportunity to go out to the public with a second vote. Usually the district changes the budget and puts out a different number. Usually, if you have that situation, they usually pull some things back out and they put a lower number out. Usually, some districts just put the same budget out. And so that is usually in early June. So that second vote would be in early June. And if it goes down a second time, we go to the contingency budget, which means we can't increase. We have to decrease by $2.4 million, which would be, we would have to cut sort of across the board. So that would primarily, a large part of our budget is staff, paying for salaries and benefits and things like that. So we would have to, in a contingency budget, we'd have to be reducing staff. How that would impact students would be larger class sizes, less offerings. You know, I never like to say, all blank sports, like some districts will say, all modified sports are getting cut, but in a contingency budget, which is pretty extreme, you have to look at those things. Most districts really try to avoid a contingency budget by putting out a second budget that they think, you know, they'll have 50% plus 1 vote for. So yeah, so that's how that works. The night of the vote ends at 9 o'clock. Vicki over here with her election folks compile all the results. The board is in here about 9:30, 9:45 when we're done counting, and we know the results of the vote by then.
Okay.
So I know whether I can sleep that night or stay up all night thinking about what we're going to do. But then I will also say we work pretty hard on our end to try to get the word out about the vote and try to answer anyone's questions. And we have been successful for the last 9 years. So I never take anything for granted with that, but we will put the same effort. I forgot one thing about communication. Our budget mailer will be going out. It's being delivered to the post office on Monday. So it'll be hitting people's mailboxes like later that week. So about 4 or 5 days before the vote.
Okay.
So one thing about votes that I think is kind of interesting is, so New York has a tax cap, and each district's tax cap number is a little bit different. But if you wanted to go over the tax cap and raise people's taxes even more, you have to get a 60% majority of the vote. It's called a supermajority. We've never done that here in Beacon. I have been in districts before here that have tried to do that or done that, and that vote it can be really stressful too. And it's usually a little bit more nerve-wracking.
Good question.
Not every state requires that the budget be publicly approved. New York is one. New Jersey, for example, does not. So these are specific laws to New York.
As a non-native New Yorker, I grew up in Illinois, and I worked in a couple different states before coming here. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it really, we don't always have like the highest amount of voter turnout, but it does engage people in a process. You to get direct feedback from your community about the budget. Like I've always thought, when did I come to New York? 15 years ago, because I was in states that did not have this either, and I think it's great.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
I did just want to say, I really appreciate all of the work that went into the thinking about and communicating the budget this year. I feel like this presentation in particular is a good sort of summation of all the discussions that we've had. And I find this incredibly helpful, the different ways that you slice and dice the data and you explain what's going into the budget and what we get out of it. And I know if I find it helpful, that a lot of the public probably does as well. So I appreciate that and thank you.
And on that note, I do want to give a shout out to Anne Marie for, I'm always kind of coming up with like, I want the new numbers of the other districts, and because I really like the comparing stuff. And she's been putting a lot of that together, so thank you. And yeah, we've tried to be more comprehensive the last couple of years in terms of sharing, and we're excited to talk about it.
Good. All right. Well, if nobody else has any comments or questions, can I get a motion to close the budget hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 7-0. Next is the capital project.
It's gonna switch.
Okay,
I put some slides together kind of at the.
yes. Okay.
These slides are not as cool, and definitely made use of the Google template. That's the most boring looking one. But I wanted to just give a capital project update, and we thought we might have two things we were talking about. We really just have the playgrounds, but I'll talk about some of the things for the 26th that we're working on. So the playground thing, out of the 2021 capital project, so that's the one that is almost closed out. We had been using some funds from that to do playground equipment. Our elementary schools have needed upgrades. It took a while to come into place. So it was really last school year that the new equipment at Forrestal and South Ave got put into place, and they are well loved, heavily used, rave reviews. So really exciting to do that. Just as a little background, playground equipment is incredibly expensive. There's really no cheap way to do this, and so it's had a large cost to it. So thinking about the future, we originally, and I communicated this to the public, so I'll add some clarity in my next communication. I originally thought we were going to be able to do an update, a playground work at Glenham, Sargent, and Rompout. And we thought we were going to be able to do some work in the fall. We had to change vendors. This is kind of an interesting world that I think they're oversought or something, so they just kind of move on to different districts without finishing something. So we had to move on to a different vendor, and kind of reviewing the costs and looking at what we really want to do at Glenham and Sargent. We decided just to focus on those two schools. There's really a lot of need with playgrounds there. The playground equipment they have is old. We've had issues with some of it at Sargent and Glenham that have needed repair, just a lot. And so trying to do 3 schools with the funds we had left in the capital project was just too hard. So I will communicate that to the community that we're going to focus on getting it done at Glenham and Sargent, and then, you know, in future years, trying to figure out some ways we can enhance the play experience at Rombout. For us not to kind of complete what we wanted to at Glenham and Sargent seemed, it just didn't make sense to me. Because I didn't want to do like kind of like halfway and then have to find more money and a few more years to like finish at Glenham and Sargent. So anyway, the thoughts about Rombout, we will, you know, we talked with Brian. We're gonna make sure they're well supplied with like play equipment. They really make great use of that grassy area, which is city property, not ours, but the city lets us use it. Kids are really on that grass as long as there's not snow every day. They're also on the blacktop. We will discuss with the board in future years. It could be next year, it could be a couple years from now. Extra funds to try to do some smaller scale playground work at Rombout. But we just can't get it done. This is pretty much the remaining funds in the 2021 project before we close. So the two principals were heavily involved in the design. They worked with their staff. The slides I'm going to show you, when they do these computer renderings, they don't really do it justice. So I'm not going to dwell on these computer things. They also don't incorporate some of the things that we're keeping, because we don't just get rid of everything. There are pieces that we're keeping at the schools. So it's not a great thing, but Sargent is really needed. Sargent just has one playground. They've really needed a new, what do they call us in playground world? Like a central piece, or it's like a main piece. They usually have slides on it. They usually have like a bridge. So Sargent has needed a new one. So that's what we're doing with this. And a few smaller pieces, I think, too. But this is the main thing. At Glenham has two playgrounds, which makes it a little harder. So the intermediate playground, we're adding some of those pieces. One of the pieces offers some shade. The Glenham playground is not shady at all. I know that doesn't provide a ton of shade, but it's something. And Glenham primary will look like this, and they have some accessibility pieces which we're excited about too. So that we have on consent agenda tonight. It's like a purchase order. It's a proposal for the board to accept. So with that, just wanted to say, Perry and Jesse have been heavily involved in the design process with this vendor and folks at the school. We really tried to represent what the school wanted. The principals had ways of getting input from staff, especially the folks who are out on the playground every day and students. And we're very excited. And this vendor is also able to do this summer. So huge bonus there. It's hard to nail these vendors down with timelines. So we had that tonight. The thing that we thought we might talk about tonight, but we need a little bit more time, not for any bad reasons, but we were going to talk about the field. So I'll just talk a little bit about things that are upcoming with the capital project, because we do have a meeting on May 26th we're adding where we're going to accept the bids. But before that, we are doing a couple of state contract work, which does not require a bid. One is with the softball and baseball fields. Just to remind folks, we are trying to address upgrades to the fields and also deal with the wetness of the fields. So both of those fields are going to get turf infields. The original design was to add, especially to the baseball outfield, a pretty intricate drainage system. That was the original design from our architects. When we costed it out, it brought that project highly over budget, almost by $1 million. So we have been talking with Field Turf, which is the company that did I'm always pointing in the wrong direction that way, did our football soccer field. They have a subcontractor, Carter's, and they do a lot of these blended fields with grass and turf. And so they are coming up with a plan. We were going to share it tonight. They needed just a little bit more time. So we'll be asking for board's approval of this on May 26th, where they do where they do a lot of work in the outfield, but they keep the grass out there. They don't rip all the sod out. They do like a lot of aeration. They did a lot of sort of loosening the soil. They said they've done this in a lot of other districts. It's way less expensive and it gets the job done. They have a long track record. That we've checked references and all that stuff, and so they are really great to work with. So that proposal of not doing less with the fields, but just not putting a really expensive drainage system in, we'll talk about that on the 26th. On the 26th, we're having I think we're starting at 7:30 for the main board meeting, but we were going to have a facilities committee meeting ahead of time where the whole facilities team will be there to talk about that and all the bids. If other board members want to join in that meeting, that's fine. We'll ask some of the facilities people to stay for the regular meeting to answer questions too. So the other state contract work we're doing is the tennis courts. That doesn't require a bid. The question with the tennis courts right now is what's underneath. We're waiting for the tennis season to end, and then they'll drill core samples in there to find out how much water's underneath. We are using the company for the tennis courts that did our track, and we thought they did a great job. They feel like we're in good, I guess it's just feelings, but they're basing it on their extensive knowledge. They feel like there won't be a lot of water under there, and they'll be able to do the tennis courts in a less expensive way as well. So we'll have more of an update there probably in June. The other things that will be bid discussions in terms of accepting bids will be for the theater improvements, the entryways for 5 of 6 of our schools, and the beginning of the air conditioning work at South Avenue in Sargent. In a future summer, we'll start the work at Forrestal and Glenham, and Roundup will be getting some additional air conditioning as well. Quick note about the air conditioning work. It doesn't get done in one summer. They do the stuff in the summer that they can't do when kids are in the building, and then during the school year, they'll be doing night shift work, to finish like the duct work and all that kind of stuff. So we probably won't have active air conditioning in South and Sargent till the spring of 27. Couple other timing things. With the back to the playing fields, the softball and baseball field, with this different way of doing it, our hope is those fields are then ready for the beginning of softball and baseball season, March 2027. Speaking of the warm room that we're in, the HVAC at the high school, as you know, has been worked on all year. I don't have I think they were shooting for the middle of May that it will be done. It's going to cool off tomorrow from what I understand. I pay less attention to the weather after winter is over, but people tell me it's getting cooler. But this work should be completed in the coming weeks. So on May 26th, we're going to talk more about the fields. We'll do it first in committee and then in the regular board meeting. I'll ask members of the facilities team to stay for that board meeting. We will accept bids that night. We may have like a couple of a few consent agenda type things. But the main point of that meeting is accepting the bids. Waiting till June would put the contractors behind schedule. So I guess what I'm trying to say is more questions will be answered at the May meeting, but there's a lot of work happening, a lot of planning, and we're excited about this too. And our team always does walkthroughs with potential bidders, and we always get nervous about is someone going to bid. We had a lot of companies do the walkthroughs. A lot were really engaged, asking a lot of questions. A company came that specializes in theaters, and they came just to do the theater walkthrough. So we're hopeful we're going to get some good bids with this, and we'll be able to talk about it more later in May.
Great.
But we'll have a busy summer with all this stuff, and it's exciting. So any questions about all this?
So Matt, a company can, so the bid we accept, let's say we accept the bid on May 26th. So a company can actually be ready to go within a month or so, to start doing work? Is that really? Okay, that's good news.
I mean, it's cutting it close. We had some delays with state ed.
Okay.
With the approval process that were not on our side.
Yep.
I mean, I think our facilities team is in a really good place, that we really talk things through. And Perry Sheldon, who's been consulting with us, he's stepping back a little bit and trying to enjoy retirement a little bit more, but he still is consulting with us. Jesse's been really actively involved. Then we have our architecture team and our construction management. All that said, if they feel like the bids that come in, if they're not confident about it, we'll talk to you all about that. We may, kind of chunk them out a little bit differently. We don't want to go into a summer where we feel like we're not confident in a contractor to get it done. I think the early stages of the walkthroughs, they feel good about some of the companies that came.
Okay.
And some of the companies that came have a reputation for getting things done. But when is bid opening? So on the 12th, in a sense, we start getting it that afternoon. Or the next day, we really start getting a sense of what we think we can do. If we feel like any part of that, just like if we feel like all the entryways it's not feasible for us, we'll change it. And so our facilities team is prepared to, I forget the word, like to repackage the bids and do them in smaller pieces. So I kind of obsess over this stuff a little bit, and I get a little worried about like the later date with this. So I bring up all these questions with the team to kind of an annoying level, I think. But so we're ready for kind of all contingencies with this. I do know that we obviously, it doesn't mean a lot because we haven't seen their bids yet, but some of the companies have come in, have expressed like we feel confident we can do this in this timeline. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll know a lot more on May 13th. And we could even, prior to the May 26th board meeting, if there's things we're seeing, Eric, that kind of concern us about, like the entryways, we'll write the board. We'll give you guys an overview so you know before we walk into that meeting. And then, the other thing with this is supply chains and ordering things. And I think they feel like the things we'll be ordering shouldn't be deeply impacted, but that can be a little unpredictable in today's world.
True. Anything else? No? Okay, thank you so much. All right, next up, we're going to hear from our student reps. Who wants to start?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to mention tomorrow there's track senior night. If anyone wants to come support, it starts at 3:30. Also, I had a meeting to follow up about the next steps for my mentorship program, and so I'm officially gonna introduce the program to parents on the June 15th orientation for the 8th graders, and then after that we're gonna have a mingle thing where the mentors and the mentees come together and meet and stuff. And then we're actually going to have people match up at the start of the school year for next year. And then I also wanted to mention, I wonder if there's a way to incorporate asking students how they feel and being able to talk about themselves during classes and stuff because I know you guys are adding a lot of mental health things, but incorporating that into the classroom, would that be possible? Something
You mean
like
through
that?
a curriculum, what teachers do?
Yeah, but instead of making it a class on the side,
Right.
incorporating it into classes.
Yeah.
So we get talk about our well-being and stuff like that sometimes, because not everyone feels like going to the social workers sometimes. And
No, I totally understand.
maybe it would be nice to have a break once in a while to just talk about how we are as humans.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Good thought. Thank you.
your turn.
I don't really have much to say about it. Yeah, I don't really have anything. Thank you.
Oh, I like the budget too. And I like the presentation.
Can I just jump in for a minute? Jump in with Chloe said.
course.
So I work at a middle school right now, and we did a student equity panel yesterday at our faculty meeting, jumping on what you said. And there were it was 6 students, 5 from the middle school, 1 from the high school. And the major thing that the students talked about, the whole faculty was there, it was really quite interesting, was about, and you used the word human, it's exactly what it was, like them kind of seeing their students as humans and, focusing in on their mental health and different ways that they can connect. And the teachers that made the difference are the ones that do see them as humans and reach out and do those types of things. So, there are different ways to do it, and I agree with you that it is the teachers that do that type of work that make the biggest difference. So I applaud that
Yeah.
aspect of it, so.
Idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was eye-opening, I think, for some of the teachers, so it was interesting.
At one of the thing that I went to in Albany, like we talked about how we're like humans before athletes, and that kind of made me like connect that to school in a way. Like I'm a human before I'm like a student. And yeah.
That's really thoughtful. That gives us something to chew on for the future. Thank you. So reviewing the agenda, there are two changes. The election workers were added to the agenda for the budget vote and election. I think that's 11.01, if I'm right. And then we removed executive session because we don't need to have one this time. So moving on to the superintendent report.
I'll be brief tonight, but I wanted to just say this publicly in a meeting. I've shared some information with the board. There's been a 3-year-long effort with the Lower Hudson Council of School Superintendents to advance a notion of equity in student athletics, and the main goal of this work has not been to eliminate competition between public and private schools, but simply to change the way the state playoff system works. So the goal of this effort is that the state playoff system would be for public schools competing against each other. There's been numerous instances over the years of state championships, especially in certain sports, being dominated by private schools that recruit not only from New York but from states beyond New York. One of the largest examples of this, if you saw in the news in the Syracuse area, there's a private school that's rather dominant in football, and a group of public schools have basically said we refuse to play with this school anymore because they're recruiting students from all over the country to be in this. So I am not always the best attender of the LOHUD meetings because they are scheduled at a difficult time for me. But I always keep up with everything that's going on, and this has been an effort amongst the Dutchess County superintendents too. So it's not something that requires board action or board vote. I was just going to kind of tell you that I was going to be sending out some material about this to the public just so they have it. A superintendent in Westchester created an advocacy page that allows parents or community members to write different people about it. The organization that governs athletics in New York is called NISVA, and I don't think have been as receptive to this idea as we have hoped. And so anyway, one of the efforts going on is kind of questioning the role of NISVA anyway, and perhaps like the commissioner needs to be getting more involved in athletics or something that focuses more on public school. So again, the effort in summary is not to at all change regular season, like rivalry games. We have some of those here in Beacon, like we're, rivalry with a private school. We're not trying to do away with any of that. It's to, at some point in the playoff system, to start separating and having like a public school champion. New Jersey has moved in this direction. Pennsylvania is starting to move in this direction in the Northeast. I think more and more people are seeing, and I'm not going to even name the schools, but like schools that almost just become recruiting like machines. And I mean, our boys soccer team a few years ago beat this team in the state semifinals, but we played a team that had a goalie from Scotland and kids from like 3 different continents playing on their soccer team, and we beat them, which was great. But like a lot of times these schools are kind of dominant at the end, and so the emphasis is to put the kind of the public back in the public school back in NISVA. So it's complicated, and there's a lot of feelings around it. So obviously, I'm not like forcing this on anyone, but I do want to supply like the community with the information to advocate for it. And I'm not the expert on it either. I think there's some intricacies to the playoffs. I was in a meeting a few weeks ago where they were talking about like it's not that it's fully separate playoffs, but at some point public schools will branch off into their own finals. To me, there are things that make sense, and we're not trying to reduce regular season rivalry games at all. Those schools will still be competing. So I haven't talked about it in public much. I wanted to bring it to your attention. I will keep sending board information about it. If you have any questions about it, we could do a more immersive thing in a board meeting at some point about it, like where we kind of engage around it more. But next week, I was going to send something out about it just to make the public aware. Some districts already have. And I'll also I saw a quick mention of it in the Highland Current on the athletics page, but I'll mention it to them that this is probably a story that's going to gain steam over time because there's a lot of movement behind it. So it's just kind of an FYI. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to say those now or during your board comment, or shoot them to me later, or whatever. Like it's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that this region, the school districts are pretty unified on, at least on this side of the river. So there's that, and then I just wanted to ask have a couple reminders for the board, just for board business. One is if you haven't done so, we're not doing this to be snoopy. We're not asking you where you're going. But if you have days in the summer that are blocked off for vacation, you could send them to Vicki, just because I'm trying to put together a board calendar, and I don't want to put one out that we don't have a quorum for several meetings. We're also going to be reaching out to Jermaine and Caitlin, because it's clear they'll be on the board too. So, we're just asking for the summer. The regular school year, we'll just kind of plow ahead with a kind of typical schedule, and I think with 8 board members, we'll be okay getting quorum. Summer's a little trickier. We don't have to do reorg those first few days of July, thank goodness. So right now, for reorg at least, we are proposing July 6th. But we'll wait till we get all your calendars, and we'll try to assemble the best summer calendar. If you can remember to send that to Vicki. And then I'm just going to plant this seed. As you know, we have a lot of negotiations going on right now. We don't meet as a board again until May 26th. I'll obviously start with Flora, but we may need to convene for just like a exec session at some point between now and May 26th to get feedback from the board regarding negotiations with one or more of our units. So just kind of have that in the back of your head. I think there's an opportunity to do it virtually. So we're not killing your schedule, but that may be needed, especially around the week of the election. I think just timing-wise, we might need feedback from the board with one or more negotiations, just in the attempt, I'm not ever going to predict, but to have the chance of getting an agreement done before the end of the school year. So I just kind of wanted to make you aware we might be coming to you that week. We'll try to know beforehand with some sort of exec, or if you can't make it, you can phone in or something like that. And that's all I have. Thank you. Thanks for those of you who can make it to commendations. That's always fun. It's a good reminder. I need to do it twice a year, not once a year. I just had some scheduling stuff this year, but thank you for that. It was fun. And thanks for all your support with the budget this year too.
All right, great. Thank you. Moving on to board comments. We'll start with Catherine.
Miraculously, nothing.
Semra?
Do we have a finance, we don't have a committee meeting booked?
Not yet.
No.
Okay,
We received a draft of the purchasing from the internal auditors. Our office is going to meet with them first just to go over it, so I can find out what their availability is.
Okay.
And then reach out.
that'd be great.
So late May, early June, probably.
Okay.
I'm thinking, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Early June. Okay.
All right, that's all. Thanks.
Chris?
I was able to attend the commendations, so just congratulations to all the recipients there. And it was just great to see the kind of diversity of how many different kinds of folks and roles it takes to make the whole school district successful. So congratulations there, great event. And to me, impossible to draw a through line for everyone, but something that really stood out to me was just the kind of, to the point about the human kindness that so many people are displaying in so many different roles just on a daily basis, which was really nice to see and to recognize. So thanks for that and congratulations. And I also just want to say I'm really proud of the budget work that we've done and really grateful for Matt, you, and Marie and the rest of the staff for preparing that. In my day job, I have contact with a lot of districts, and I don't take for granted how much forward thinking and planning has been done to put us in a situation where not only are we not freaking out about, closing huge gaps or laying off really beloved staff, but we're actually thinking about making a significant improvement, even in a world with huge amounts of inflation and rising costs and all of those things. So that doesn't happen by accident. And I hope the community will support the budget, which I think is a really great statement of our values and a good step forward for next year.
Great. Thank you. Levon?
No comments.
Okay. Eric?
We do have, I'll say it again, we have a facilities meeting on the 26th at 6:45.
Oh, it's not 6:30, it's
I
6:45.
think it's 6,
I think 45 minutes is probably
that's
good.
what I had, so I had in my calendar, so.
that's
it
perfect.
Changes.
Because we just have the bids to go through and
Okay.
the field proposal, so
Okay.
I was just trying to keep this
No,
not
that's
as onerous
great.
for you all, but because then like I said, we're gonna ask at least some of that team to stay for the whole board to answer any questions too.
Okay, perfect.
I also attended the recognition night. I thought it's always a great evening. I agree with what Chris said about the human aspect. And I say this every year, I do appreciate Matt being the MC. It's he just kind of feels like he knows every single person. He knew the 2 science fair projects, the kids, what they had done. It's just hats off. That's really, really a nice touch to that evening. And finally, I'm just going to speak. I welcome the advocacy work with the public school playoff system, and I think it's something long overdue. And that's just where I'll leave it.
Yeah. Meredith?
Eric, I agree completely about the public-private school sports thing. I would be really happy if the board wanted to write a letter together to support it. I also went to the commendation ceremony. It was really heartwarming and just lovely, and you really do feel like it takes a village, and we have such a great village here. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. I really appreciate our teachers. I think we're so lucky with the staff we have here. And I feel like we really did some hard work on the budget this year, and I feel really excited to see the 9-period day in place and hear about that in the fall and how it's going. And thank you for all the hard work Matt and Anne Marie did on this. And then we had a policy meeting. There's 9 policies on the agenda tonight for a first read, and we have another policy meeting scheduled for June 1st at 6 p.m.
Okay. I'll just make a note of that. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to echo congratulations to all the honorees of the commendation ceremony. It is such a great way for us to sort of mark each year with recognizing students and staff who are doing exceptional things in the district. And toward what Chris was saying, it's not just about being academically exceptional, but also being exceptional humans. And that's such a wonderful thing to see. And it always makes me feel really proud of the school and the students when we have these. So keep it up. And that's all I've got for tonight. So we can move on to the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Are there any items that any board members would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
I have one, 12.06 F15.
12.06 F15?
F15, yep.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion to approve 11.01 through 15.01 minus 12.06 F15?
So moved.
Vaughn, second.
Second.
Semra, comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 7-0. Can I have a motion to approve?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve 12.06 F15?
So moved.
Vaughn, second.
Second.
Second by two people. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
One abstention. Passes. 7, you wanted to say something?
Are we through consent?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Sorry, before it gavels out. With the athletic thing, I always think a board signing off on it is powerful, but I also know that you like to discuss it, and I know tonight's not the night. So are you comfortable with me sending something out saying, like, this is the work of the superintendent group of the region, blah, 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 blah,
Yes.
blah, and then at some, like, later meeting, the board potentially, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to,
No,
I don't
think-
want to, I feel comfortable sharing it just because there's been so much work on it from like a regional perspective. I don't think I'm overstepping with the board, but you know what I mean?
Is
But
there
like
like a-
somewhere down the road, the board will have a letter or something too.
Okay, yes. So
Okay.
is there, just to be clear, is there out there already sort of a templated letter that we could use?
Yeah, yes, there
So
is.
we could even sort of work on that and then come with something,
Right.
by email, and then come with something to discuss and vote on at the next meeting, if you
Okay.
want to.
But are we okay with me starting, like alerting the community
Absolutely.
to it? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. It is, it's getting really passionate out there about this issue. I think things are kind of reaching like a boiling point around it. So I just wanted to, from my vantage point, alert people who get my emails and whatnot that here's a way they can make their voice heard. And
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry for kind of interrupting the flow. I just wanted to be sure before I headed out.
We now have to start over. I'm sorry.
All right, let's get that budget hearing, those slides up again.
Oh.
There's three parts of the budget, right?
Oh, JK. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes 7-0. Good night.